Ambassador Fujita, distinguished speakers, students, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak about the International Vaccine Institute in Seoul, Korea. Now, we are not a company. We're not profit-making. Of course, that doesn't mean we're not interested in money. So we spent an awful lot of time talking about it. But the vision of the IVI is to see developing countries, emerging countries, free of suffering from infectious diseases. And to achieve that through our mission is to discover, develop, and deliver safe, effective, and affordable vaccines for the world's developing emerging nations. Should make a few statements. The vaccines are the greatest public health development in the last 200 years. We've seen such major breakthroughs in the control of infectious diseases. We've seen the eradication of smallpox. We've seen the reduction in measles, of whooping cough. We've seen in many countries the elimination of tetanus, a disease that frequently kills mothers and or their children. But our work continues. There are many more diseases that we need. Cholera, a disease causing fulminant diarrhea, remains a major challenge throughout the world. Typhoid fever, a disease that kills thousands, still a problem. And dengue, maybe a disease some of our Brazilian friends may be aware of, remains a major challenge. The International Vaccine Institute was developed to deal with some of those issues of vaccines. The IVI, as we call it, was started by the UN Development Program as a need because there was a strong idea that we needed an international organization to deal with all the issues of vaccines because none existed. It was the first international organization in Korea. Korea actually bid to the UN to have the International Vaccine Institute in Seoul. And as part of this international organization, there are over 35 countries that are part of the contract, if you will, or the agreement that founded the International Vaccine Institute. Now, the IVI is a major player throughout the world with programs in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And we also have our favorite area, Seoul, Korea, where we have our laboratories. I said that there were more than 30 organizations that are signatories to the agreement founding the IVI. And one of those you might notice over there, Brazil. So if you didn't know it before, you know it now, that your country is actually a partner to the establishment of the International Vaccine Institute. Now, as I said, we work in a lot of countries, and these are a few of them. We actually are in Brazil also, specifically working with the Ministry of Health on dengue vaccines. Now, as I said, we're located in Seoul, Korea, and our headquarters, and that's our building right there. It's large, and it's part of the host agreement. They've provided this building for us for free, and we have lab equipment. And about 30% of our budget comes from the government of Korea, so thank you very much for that. And of course, we also get other privileges, such as immunities, tax exemptions, and my salary, for example, is tax exempt. Again, thank you very much. We have 144 staff. About half of those are scientists of varying experience and training. And international staff, it's about 34 of us. All the senior staff are international. We have a board of trustees that oversees us. And we have a scientific advisory group made up of international experts who provide support to us to make sure that we don't do the wrong thing. Our major donors, as I said, is the government of Korea, You may have also heard of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They are a major provider of funding. And we also get money from the Swedish. And of course, there are a variety of other agencies and organizations around the world that supports the IVI's work. You may notice some of these: LG Electronics, UBS Optimus Foundation, Korean Exchange Bank. And I think the Racing Commission also provides us some funds every year, so please go to the races. The unique strategy of the IVI is to provide support and develop all the way from the bench, the laboratory, through development, all the way up to introduction of vaccines. So you can see we have people who are designing vaccines, looking for new antigens that would stimulate the immune response. We have people who are working on clinical trials of those new vaccines in India, in South Asia, in Africa, working on clinical trials for those, testing those vaccines in humans. And then we have the work of making sure people use those vaccines by introducing them in new countries. More specifically, in the laboratory, we have people who work on immunology. That is making what is the response of the human being once they're given that vaccine. We have people working in microbiology who are looking for new diagnostic methods to identify infectious diseases like dysentery. And then we have people who work on the vaccine process, the actual way of making a vaccine. Once you've discovered it, you have to produce it, first in the lab, then in the manufacturer. There must be processes for that. Once we have a vaccine, we come to my area of expertise. We have translational research. So you have to take the vaccine and bring it to people. This is clinical trials like we've done in the cholera program, where we've developed a whole cell oral cholera vaccine, where we have typhoid vaccines that have been developed and are now being tested in India. We have a dengue vaccine. As I mentioned before, we do work with individuals with the Ministry of Health in Brazil. We also have a very unique program of interest to my Korean colleagues. We actually work in North Korea. I've been there myself. And we have staff there right now. We're working more on translational, helping the North Koreans to develop surveillance systems for infectious diseases, and also helping them to utilize existing and new vaccines. We also work with respiratory policy and economic research and in biostatistics. In other words, we do almost anything that's important to the use of vaccines in developing countries. I mentioned the capacity building. We also have vaccinology course where people from around the world, Asia and Pacific mostly, but also from Africa, come for training. We also do technology transfers. And we have a Scholars in Residence program where experts from around the world come to the IVI to see the work we're doing and provide lectures. What's the major achievements? I think the #1 achievement of the International Vaccine Institute, a 15-year-old organization, was to develop an oral cholera vaccine. 100,000 people die a year from cholera. So we helped to develop a vaccine that is now being licensed in India and has been pre-qualified, that is approved for use by the World Health Organization, and is now, hopefully, will be supported by an agency called Gavi, which will provide funding to developing emerging countries to make use of this vaccine. We've also done technology transfers to manufacturers in developing countries to produce this vaccine, the oral cholera vaccine, as well as typhoid vaccines. And we've also provided a lot of support to developing country governments to understand how these vaccines are being used and where it will be. These would be our major achievements to date. We have a lot of collaborators. You'll notice a lot of Korean organizations within Korean organizations listed here. I don't think I mentioned, but we are actually located on the campus of Seoul National University, hence our collaboration there. We also collaborate with a lot of manufacturers, SK Chemicals, for example. That's the IVI. We have a new internship program, which we're developing. And thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about our work in the developing world, in the developing emerging world. Thanks.